Hi. So let's speak a little bit about how you can use Vega-Lite for creating temporal visualizations. So I have an example notebook that I created for the D3 track in here that it's on itself a fork of a notebook that I made for exploring my tweets or my Twitter archive. So there is an option on Twitter where you can go and download all of your tweets. In this case, I have 5,000 tweets, and then I wanted to see what was the best time for tweeting. So let's fork this and then create a Vega-Lite version. So, and then like maybe time, let's call this time visualizations. Then what I'm going to do is that we have here an Avio that it's helping me seeing like the overview of all the data, if you can actually use this notebook with your own tweets. So let's leave that one in there. Let's get rid of this one. And then for instance, we have this heat map, and let's say we want to create that same one. So with D3, what we needed to do, so let me actually leave this here, is that since the data comes in tweets, we needed to actually do some aggregation in a row. With Vega-Lite, it's very nice because you don't need to do that. You can just start saying like I want to create a mark. In this case, I think we have to use the rectangle mark. Then you say I'm going to pass my data. In this case, is the selected tweets. They are the ones that come out of Navio. And then I'm going to say I'm going to render that. Once you have done that, then after the mark, and I recommend you always leaving the data closer to render, especially when you're faceting with Vega-Lite, that makes a difference. You can start defining your encodings. And in this case, what we want is to have on the y-axis the field that is temporal, and that is the key in here, that is called created at. Okay, so when you do that, it gets you this like all the time, like when I have been tweeting. And then starting from there, like let's actually say that we want to put this on X, for instance. And then if you go on Y, put the count, like this is going to tell you how many tweets you have. So actually, let's start with a line chart, and this is going to tell me how many tweets per element. However, when I do that, it looks really weird because what's happening in there is that I don't have any two tweets in the same second, although there's one in here. So one of the nice things about Vega-Lite is that you can always turn on tooltips very easily if you know how to write tooltip and true. So there we go. So there is a time in here where I actually had to, that for some reason I had that. So the problem is that is how you want to aggregate the data. So in this case, you can pass a parameter called time unit. In that time unit, I think for this will be year, month, and date probably. And that it's a line chart that shows me how many tweets I have gotten every day, including the year. So if you want to summarize that to the month level, then you can leave it like this, okay? Now, reusing this one to go and create the previous one that we had is that if you want to create the heat map that we were talking about, then you can say that on x-axis, I want to have the day, I think, and then this has like the days of the week. And then on the y-axis, I'm going to have like the same thing, but instead of the day, I'm going to use the hours. I think it's how I do it. And in this case, now we can go back to the rectangle that I was thinking before. And then since this is a heat map, we can just say I'm going to use color. For the count, let's start with that. So this is telling me like what is the time that I'm getting more tweets on. So for this to be very closer to this one of the things we can do is that we can change the order of these. So by default, Vega-Lite will reverse the y-axis. So we can change that here by just saying reverse and then putting false. And then doing that, or reverse true, rather. So doing that, now you can see that things go to the proper order in there. So that is the first thing that we can do for that. The other element that we can create in here, it's and depending. So let me do a little change in here. Yes. So let me see what happens when I do this. So this is a different one that I have a different version of Vega-Lite, and the advantage of that one is that it it transforms things into Spanish. So I wanted to see if that was working. So you can see that. Go and check that one's to like John Guerra Vega-Lite API for seeing how I do it in there. Now the other thing we can change is that if, for instance, you say this is not going to be temporal, because temporal is more when you are doing things like this. Let's say that this is actually going to be ordinal, and then this one is also going to be ordinal. Then it's going to have different distributions, as you see in here. And if you don't want to have the count, but maybe you want to have like maybe the mean number of retweet count, for instance, that is the same one that I did below, then you can do it this way, and then this will give you that element. And again, the beauty of having a view in here is that I can select like only the ones that don't have that have retweets, and maybe getting rid of the ones that have a lot of retweets, and then that way you can have more meaningful histograms, or in this case heatmaps, I guess, that helps you with that. So the key on doing time visualizations with Vega-Lite is using the time unit, as you see in here, like the time field, and the time unit of that attribute. If you want to see more information about time unit, it's just a matter of searching for Vega-Lite time unit. And then the documentation is going to show you that you can actually do that using all of these ones that come from, I think, even from D3, or even the system, like the date system that you're using. Finally, and let me see if I can find that one quickly. So I might have put it in here somewhere. Vega-Lite time truncate. It might be in explainables in here. Sorry about that. Hopefully I already put it in there. Yes, of course I didn't put it. So what I'm looking at, I created another notebook, but I have created so many now that I'm a little lost. Sorry about that. Say time part, time truncate, I think will be a good way that I will call it right now. So one of the concepts that you need to take into account, and it's actually something that I show you in here because this thing is getting so slow, is that you have to decide if you're actually going to be using part of the date or if you're going to be using the truncate. I already showed you that in the lecture. So the difference in here is that you can see that I'm taking the year, the month, and then the date, or in this case just the year and the month, or you can take only the date. When you do that, basically what it's going to be showing, like for instance, if I say date, is going to be from 1 to 31. So it's a big difference in there, because with this one you can see if I'm doing more at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month, versus using something like this, it's actually having like the full time set. So it's like a full timeline for that. So did I find it? Like this is the one that I was looking for, and it's in here. It should be. Let me make sure that it's in the right position. And in explainables is where I want them. Come on, my internet's a little slow in there, so let's put it in here. And then this is a very good example on how that applies to things. Like for instance, these are different tweets from the Kite 2019 conference, and then you can see if you change and you say I want to truncate by year and month, then you only see those. But if you want to use year, month, date, or if you want to go even further, then you can start seeing like all of the different elements that you see in there. Then here are the other ones that are the ones that I like creating. And then these ones are really nice because you can choose if you want to compare day versus hours, or maybe hours versus minutes. And then these are the date parts. So this is actually extracting the parts of that. So this really allows you for creating more interesting analysis. So for instance, in here, it's quite interesting that it's like it's starting, it's saying that I'm not tweeting that much Sunday, Fridays, and Saturdays. So that is a good study. So I'm hoping you like this. You can see, as you can see, it's very easy to do temporal visualizations with Vega-Lite.